I got drunk.
Well, I was driving down on Highway 99, looking out my window when something caught my eye. There was farmers plowing and cotton growing and corn popping all along the road, and I think I like what I see. Now I've traveled all around these 50 states. There have been so many good people I've met along the way, and they're working hard and they love the Lord. They know what they're working for, and I think I love who I meet. This is my kind of country. Now we're up in the morning with a coffee pot, off to work to a dead-end job, but you won't hear us sing the blues. Come Friday at 5, well, we all get paid. Now we're off to the lake on Saturday. Time to light up my barbecue. If you feel like me, let me hear you say, hey. If you feel like me, if you feel like me, let me hear you say, hey. This is my kind of country.
My bike, this American pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Couple good old boys drinking homemade shine. Now we're headed to the lake for some overtime.
And who are you?
Brett Griniger. I'm the master distiller at Panther Distillery.
Okay.
This is my brother Wade Griniger. He's a professional rodeo announcer. Right in the middle, man. Right in the middle. No.
That's alright.
He's a professional rodeo announcer. He helps do a lot of our PR work throughout the summer. And we're going to help you, give you a little tour today and show you what's going on. Kind of talk about the history. We'll stay in here for now because we have some equipment running. And then we'll go in the back and you can kind of see the outline of the process of making legal whiskey in the state of Minnesota. The history behind Minnesota and why we're here. Stearns County is huge moonshining county. During Prohibition, actually, is the largest producing county of any county in the United States at the time. Minnesota was also one of the largest producing states of the legal booze. So for us to be the first legal whiskey distillery just kind of brings all that history back, and we finally get to put a legal bottle on the shelf. What you'll see today is we're running a corn whiskey, which also ties along with our first product that's out in stores January 4th. That's a white whiskey. It's a clear whiskey, an unaged whiskey that doesn't get the color from the barrel. We'll show you the process. It'll tie in a little bit easier, and we'll go from there.
You add wheat to it too, is that a normal thing?
We do 3 varieties here. It's either straight corn, it's wheated bourbon, which has 70% corn, 30% wheat, or we also do a rye, 70% corn, 30% rye. We're going to show you from start to finish on the age side of it. We're going to have you guys actually fill a barrel today, and you'll see the start of the aging process. Now in 2 years, hopefully we can get you to come back and we'll pull that same barrel out, and you guys can see the end product.
Try it out.
Exactly. So.
Sounds good.
Like we got that little history lesson inside, and now what we like to do is tie it into the local side of it. All of our products are bought locally. Our corn, our wheat, our rye, water is city water right out of the city of Osakis, and that's the main reason we actually picked this town, is because of their water. It tests very well for whiskey production, and also just a small town feel. Right in the center of Minnesota, we're 2 miles off the interstate. We get the lake traffic. You know, we're not too far from you guys up there in Bemidji, not too far Park Rapids, that side of it. But actually, we come to the back of the shop and I'll walk you from start to finish on what we're doing. We actually got a cook-in process right now. What you see here, this stainless steel cooker there, we're bringing grain in as we speak. And actually, if you want to get a shot of that on the camera, right up in here, what we're adding, this is our wheat that we're adding. We're doing a wheated run right now. And we run it through a roller mill, and that cracks that wheat kernel and starts releasing some of that starch in there. So inside of here, there's 379 gallons of water. There's also, you can sneak right up there and shoot in there. Should be a yellow mat. What we're doing inside of here now is a cook process. What we started this morning, we started a little early before you guys came so you can see some of it running, is we put our corn in first. We put our corn in our water and we flash steam it. We bring it to a boil by direct inducing steam. When we direct induce steam, we can boil 500 gallons of mash in about 15 minutes. We do it really fast and really hot. That's for sanitation reasons. Any fertilizer or pesticide, anything that might be left on that corn, we boil off. Second reason, we start breaking down starch. There's natural starch in corn, which means there's natural sugar in corn. When we create sugar, we're creating a food for our yeast. And the whole main workhorse in this whole plant is yeast. Yeast is what breaks down our sugars and creates alcohol. And we'll come around from here and we'll look at these fermenters. And that's kind of the neatest part of the whole process, is you get to see the open top fermentation. Now if you were to go to a brewery, a lot of people in the state of Minnesota are familiar with breweries because of the brewery craze. In breweries, they have to use closed top fermentation. Here you actually get to see the yeast going on. Let's see if we can find an active one. So like if you were to look here at this tank, what we're looking at, this is cool to the touch. You can actually push some foam away and it's about 88 degrees. Now what's inside there is that mash that I was telling people we cook. And if you were to taste it, it's kind of sugary right now. A little bit sour, a little bit sugary.
Almost like beer.
There you go, we're getting close. What this would be, and the reason you said it's almost like beer, this is 30-gallon beer. In brewers and distillers terms, you would refer to this as 30-gallon beer. If we were to filter it all out, you would have 30 gallons of beer here. Now we're distilling it, so we ferment for 6 days. At the end of 6 days, it becomes completely inactive, like this tank right beside it. The tank right beside it here is ready to be distilled. It'll go in this afternoon for distillation, and we'll pull the alcohol off. Now the alcohol that's in there is about 10%. That means we do a 500-gallon cook, we yield about 50 gallons of alcohol. About 10% of the actual cook. Now the rest of it doesn't get wasted. We keep what's left from here. There's about 1,000 pounds of grain and 200-300 gallons of water left over. That then becomes a feed source, and we feed it to cattle and pigs. So we go through the process of fermentation, and what you're looking at here, we have 10 open top fermentations going at all times. They're in all different stages, all different activities. If we sit here and talk for a little while, you might see one of them go a little crazy. Now they're all relatively the same, but what's going on there is there's thousands and thousands of yeast in there. Just simply like your baker's yeast. It's rising, it's releasing gas. What it's doing here though is it's eating that sugar, and our strand of yeast is specific to us. That releases our alcohol, and that's
like beer too.
Exactly. So from here, we do a 6-day fermentation, and we'll then go into the still. Now the still usually gets all the glory because it's the alcohol. That's where it's coming off. The real work's all done right up until that point.
This one must be in there.
Yep, this is the one that we pumped in this morning, and it'll soon be replaced by the fresh batches in the sugar. It's constantly one going in the still and one coming back up. It's just a constant rotation throughout the week. Exactly. That's the one nice thing on these fermenters is as yeast breaks down that sugar, you can see here it's moving pretty good. As it's doing this reaction creates heat. So on the back side of these tanks we have a cooling system. It automatically gets above, when it gets above 88 degrees, we cool it down with cold water. That's all on a computer system that we actually developed ourselves here. And you look now, it's really going.
Oh, there you go.
It just really likes to release, and it's just constantly moving and agitating. There's absolutely nothing in there.
So you let it go until it stops?
Well, we let it go about 6 days. We had to find our happy spot. 5.5 to 6 days is when we pull it out. If you ferment it too long, you start losing some alcohol evaporation. If you don't ferment it long enough, you're just leaving a lot of raw sugar in there.
Right.
So from here, it then gets transferred. Everything gets transferred through air diaphragm pumps. The reason we use air diaphragm pumps is because it's alcohol. If we were to use a different style pump, there's a spark. So we pump this whole mash is going to be. Now from here, you want to turn that little pump on right here in the gray box. It should be go to like 80. What we're actually doing here, and you'll get to see, is this is why I'm here. This is my job. We control the taste. What I'm doing, I'm recirculating some hearts back up into my still so I can rerun them. Right now we're averaging about 90 proof. Here in about 30 seconds, you'll see I'm going to jump it up to about 150, 160 proof. I pull a lot more clear alcohol out there. It's just the temperature. Temperature is all our main partner here. We want to be at about 191 to 193 degrees with our steam. That's where our flavor is at. That's where I reach for every day. It's all taste, smell, touch, feel. It's human element now. There's no machine that can control what we're trying to make. So there's myself. We also have 3 other distillers here, and it has to be tested and approved by somebody every day.
How do you become a master distiller?
You create a taste. This is created by me. This our products here. Now I have assistant distillers that will always work underneath of me. But if it's not to what my tasting, I'm gonna bump that to 30 now, maybe. You become a master when you get a label. And I'll have 2 labels that are registered under my name that I've created here off of this still, and it'll always be underneath my name. As when I die, someone else will have to become the master on it. It's just a quality control agent that we use. So as we flooded that, we'll just give it a little bit here now, and this will all clear up, and you'll see absolutely clear booze come. Drain her down. Now the one thing a lot of people are going to be looking for when they watch this, if you ever watch like a Popcorn Sutton moonshining show, you'd see a copper worm coming off of there. A big copper coil that they have running to some sort of a catch basin. Our copper coil is just inside of here. Since we're legal and we do this a little bit more standardized, what we do there is I control the temperature that it's exactly coming off with cold water. Instead of using the air temperature to cool the alcohol, I flush it with cold water. So that water comes in the bottom, goes through that column, and that worm's just tightly wound inside of that column. It's just a way, when you're on our side of things, everything's about the same consistency. Every day you want the same taste. Otherwise, in 2 years when we pull it out of these barrels, you're going to have a half a dozen barrels that taste one way and then a half a dozen that taste the other. You want them the same every day. Yeah. You get enough fluctuation just throughout where your barrel's stored in the rick house. A barrel that's on the northeast corner compared to a barrel on the southwest corner, they're going to taste different. So you want the product that's going in as close to the same as you can.
Consistent.
Yeah. So now, like I said there, we just went, in about 30 seconds, we went up to 160 proof. And if you notice here, it's a lot clearer alcohol coming off the top. It's coming off at a lot more rapid pace, too. Now, being a distiller, standing where I'm now, I can actually smell the difference from what we were running to what we are now. We're getting into a lot more of a sweeter smelling alcohol, and that's a different, you smell it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. To me, compared to our heads, which is what we were running out this morning when you came in, heads would be methanol or isopropyl. What they are is, it's not a bad alcohol, it's just not an alcohol you want to drink. It's great for race car fuel and jet fuel. What it does is it has a very sharp acetone flavor to it, almost like a biting into a sour apple, or that smell, that aroma. You can smell it in the shop when the heads are running. It's really a fruity smell. Right as that tails off, and it tails off real fast, that's when your hearts start coming in, and that's when you're about that 191 to 193 on your temperature range. So throughout the cook, what we watch, not only do we watch our taste and smell and touch here, we also got our 3 temperature gauges here. We're just below 190 now. As we come into 191, we start getting really into our good hearts. Our good hearts will run until we get about 50 gallons, right at that 10% mark. Now, the difference between a gallon and a proof gallon, for federal reasons, we can keep track of proof gallons around here. A proof gallon is 1 physical gallon of 100 proof alcohol. So now when I'm coming off with 150, a gallon of it would actually be 1.5 gallons. It's just a way of keeping track of that tax. Keeping track of our alcohol as it's in a steam temperature at the top. My gauge at the bottom is my cold water going in, and right now I know my alcohol is coming off at about 68 degrees. 60 degrees is the standard for testing, so I'm about 8 degrees above average. That's where we like to run. It pulls off a little better flavor right about 64, 68 degrees. We go plus or minus about 3 or 4 degrees on that. What that is just what my alcohol is coming off for temperature here. It's about 68 degrees temperature-wise, the actual alcohol. So we take, in a matter of about 10 seconds, we're changing from 190 degree steam to 68 degree water. That rapid change is all because we do it inside of a column instead of that air. If you were to do it with air, it'd still be coming off about 110, 120 degrees. The column on the still, that's where all the work is done. What's inside of each one of these windows here is a set of plates. Inside those plates is 13 holes. So if you're to imagine, and we'll take a close look at it on the cold still over there, and that'll make some sense to them. But what's happening inside there, and you can see some alcohol splashing against the windows, is that vapor rises from here. This is getting heated right now by steam. That turns the alcohol inside of it into a vapor. It rises up and through that plate. On that plate there's holes, transfers through those holes, and then turns back into liquid. That happens 4 times throughout the process. What that does is that removes impurities and water from the alcohol. So as you rise up through those plates, you get a more pure and pure product. We then take, and as per taste, I recirculate it back up into the top plate a 5th time. What that allows me to do is control the temperature on the top plate, because I'm putting 70 degree booze back up on top, so I can regulate my top temp. It also allows me to get my alcohol right where I need it to be flowing. Throughout this, as I've been talking, I've been messing with it, and right now I'm right about where I need to be. I'm at 110, 120 proof. All I'm doing here is I'm controlling my temp just a little bit by my flow rate of alcohol going to the top of the still. I could put her just about where anyone wants it. Where we run here is 120, 126 proof. So we'll now come over here that the cook's done, and I can show you this on a still. Kyle, there's a spanner wrench on top over here. That'll get a lot better, clearer picture of what's going on inside that column. We can look at a cold still. So what this is here is just the holding tank. We'll bring this lift over so you can look in. So this would be where all that mass is sitting inside of a fermenter will be at. And then we'll take one of those plates off and you'll actually get to see inside of it. More of a visual learner myself, so it's easier to explain looking at something. Yeah, we'll take that off and then I'll bring them up. see what I mean about those, why they're called bubbler caps. Might be a little hard to have to use the phone with glass of light in there for them. But that's what's inside of there. That's them little small caps that are sitting right inside of here. I can take a photo. Helping them.
Oh yeah.
So those bubbler caps with the slits on it, what that allows is that alcohol to rise up. Rise up and hits the top of them caps, and then it has to condense back into a liquid form, and it sits on top of this plate now. What that allows it to do then is the steam from underneath then heats the bottom of that plate, and that alcohol heats, and it's just a continuous process of heating and cooling, heating and cooling. So all that's inside of this is just an agitator. It keeps the slurry mixed up. A bunch of temp probes lets me know where I'm at. And then it's the same exact process as our other still from that point. Sitting outside. Our grain gets delivered from the local farmers co-op on a weekly basis, our wheat and corn. We then bring it in through this auger system and gets transferred into this tub here. Inside this tub is where we weigh it out. There's a formula that we have to follow, that's federal guidelines. Keeps track of how many pounds of corn or wheat we bring in, and they know how much booze we should produce off of that. We're allowed a variance each way, but what that allows them to do is know that we're not bootlegging out of here. That's their control on us. It's pretty strict. That's why these scales are all certified scales. It allows us to make sure that we're hitting our numbers every week. We actually have a guy that's full-time just to work on our paperwork as far as that. Yeah, and then what you're following along now is where once we've weighed it out inside of a hopper bin, it follows through that flexible auger down and through a drop tube and into the cooker. And that's how our grain is transferred to the cooker. From there, what you're looking at here is that a cooker does the exact same thing, but at twice the rate. This is a 1,000-gallon unit. That's a 500-gallon unit. Here in about 2 weeks, this will be fully functional. What that allows us to do is double our production throughout the day. Where we're at now is, as far as creating our aged products, we have to keep creating at the same rate. But with our white whiskey going out the door as fast as it is, we need to keep match production on that. So that's why you see this new equipment sitting in here. Actually just came in last week. What that allows us to do is one will always be running our aged stuff, one will always be running our sellable stuff right now. Our second product that'll be out soon is a spiked apple spirits. What that is that same white whiskey base, we put it back into a still as a clear alcohol. That clear alcohol, I then take and put my recipe of apples and cinnamon and brown sugar inside this stainless steel hopper. Now instead of running it through the column with all the bubbler caps and plates, I redirect that steam and I run that steam through that mash full of our apples and our secret little recipes. That picks up the flavor, pulls it off as a steam, and then travels through the same condenser column into the collection page.
Yeah, I think that's a better way than making it with apple juice.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's pretty good way of doing it. I can do about 500 gallons of it in about 4 hours.
Oh really?
So we're working on right now is getting our final label approval on it. As soon as our label approval's out, we'll be able to sell that. It's a very appealing drink because it's something you can sip that actually has flavor. And it's not an artificial flavor, it's all natural apples, natural cinnamon. And we just try to pull it out with the alcohol, and it's worked very well for us so far. Kind of excited to use it on this still and make sure this still does it the same way, and then we'll be able to mass produce it and get it in bottles. So we can kind of go back and we'll check our alcohol now, see what we have in the tank, and then we'll show you where it'll go from this tank and into our barreling system and our bottling side. The one nice thing about this white whiskey, as of right now, it's clear alcohol. So we, at this point, I can cut it down to 80 proof, put it in a bottle, and that's our white whiskey. It gets filtered through a barrel. For legalization purposes, it has to touch a barrel to be called whiskey. Or it'll actually get put into a barrel and become an aged whiskey. We can put the same alcohol into a barrel. 2 years from now, pull it out, and it's that aged whiskey that everyone's familiar with, that bourbon-looking color to it.
So you can't call it whiskey unless it's
touches a new white oak barrel. We'll get over there and I'll kind of show you how them white oak barrels go. But what you're looking at inside of here, this is our collection tank. This is what we've got off the run so far this morning. That's right now we're probably at about 12-13 gallons of alcohol. This is a 3-compartment collection tank. So when you look at the heads, that's the stuff they ran off first. That's your methanol. Now we're onto the hearts, and then the tail end is just watered down ethanol.
Does that do that automatically?
No, that's all through the taste and smell. We do that.
Oh, yeah,
all hand controls up here. That'd be Carson or myself or one of the other distillers, Bob or Greg.
What would happen if you got too much heads in the hearts? It'd just be the smell and the taste.
It would mess with the smell and the taste, and then what we'd probably do is just redistill that batch. We'd just start over and collect off there what we could. It happens, it's happened before. So we just keep track of it. This is the main job around here is just to make sure that this is running the way it should be. That's why we always kind of check back throughout our tours where we're at, or there's always one guy that's watching it. So what I'll get now though is we'll pull Carson and Adrian, or we'll pull Kyle and Wade down. What Wade and I are going to go over is the barreling side of it. So what we would have did there from when you're looking at the collection tank is we would have pumped it into this holding tank here. It's a sealed stainless steel tank. Allows us to store alcohol in a non-flammable container. What we're going to do now though is it's going to get transferred into a barrel. What you're looking at here is a full barrel. This full barrel is filled by one of our other customers. It's kind of a neat little thing we do. We sell barrels to people. Legally we have to store and keep the alcohol. They come in, they fill it up. This group decided to sign their names all over it, put a stamp on it. In 2 years from now we'll pull this out and they'll come back as a group. That group then gets to empty their barrel and we give them one single batch bottle out of that barrel, and they get to keep the empty cask themselves. At that point, they get to have the option to buy as much of the booze that was in that barrel as they want at cost. Basically cost is all the taxes. The rest of it we absorb just so they can have their own deal. What a lot of people do, like we've got a lot of weddings that'll buy these and use it as their guest book. Everyone will sign the barrel, and then as soon as you put alcohol to it and it swells that wood, the autographs get all distorted. It kind of gives it a rustic little aged look to it. So what we're going to do today, we have 2 barrels here. This is a little 5-gallon, a little 10-gallon, and we'll have these guys help you fill them up.
Are those going to be like your normal size barrels? I know like you guys see the great big ones.
Yeah, we do 53s from now. What these are, these are more of our specialty size that we do for stuff like this. Right here, this one, wood one was right here, man. So if you want to get a shot at inside of this barrel, this barrel actually comes from Black Swan out of Park Rapids. We try to even keep our barrels local. Now the char that's on my fingers, they burn the inside of these barrels. Charcoal's the world's best natural filter. So you get that filter that's filtering your alcohol. You're also pulling a lot of your color and flavors out of your wood. Your wood does the opposite and pulls some of your flavor out of your alcohol, tones it down. Some people claim it smooths it out, some people claim it sharpens it. It's all in the taster's tongue. what we're going for here is we just want to pull some of that caramel flavor and that natural char out of the barrel. And it's just an aging process. There's nothing you can do about it. To be called bourbon or whiskey, it's got to be inside of a barrel. So that's what we're going to do. What we're putting in here today, this is a wheated alcohol. Go ahead and start filling that. And it's just a simple gravity fill. And it just allows that alcohol to go in there and start its aging process. Now if we were to fill this barrel full, roll it across the shop 30-40 seconds and start emptying it out, you would already see a stain to that alcohol. So it's just a matter of seconds and it starts picking up some of that color. There's a whole science behind the wood and why it's got to be white oak and all that I could throw at you for days, but it still wouldn't make sense to you. It's just we use wood barrels. The reason they use white oak barrels and the way they started making white oak barrels is a gentleman named Elijah Craig out of Louisville, Kentucky. He actually, way back when, they'd get fish shipped to him from New Orleans in white oak barrels. The reason he burned them.
Alcohol abuse.
Alcohol abuse. He burned them to get that fish taste out. When he burnt them to get the fish taste out, they wanted moonshine to trade for their fish. He put his moonshine in the barrels and sent them back down to New Orleans. Well, it's a little bit of a boat ride from Louisville to New Orleans. By the time it got there and they emptied the barrel out, it had picked that auburn color up, and it became Bourbon County moonshine. That's where your bourbon came from. That's for years, bourbon was only made in Bourbon County, Kentucky. For years after that, it was only made in Kentucky. Now it's made in the whole United States. So now we'll fill that 10-gallon one, and the reason we filled 2 of them today, this 5 and the 10, is if we pull these 2 out in the exact same day, 2 years from now, you should have actually 2 separate tastes. You have a 5-gallon. There's 5 gallons of alcohol in here, has way more surface area of wood to touch than the 10 gallons will have. And as you continue into larger sizes, 53 gallons has a lot smaller wood surface area to touch. There's a lot more liquid than there is surface area. So a smaller barrel actually age faster. This will taste the same in 1 year as that will in 2 years. So what that allows me to do is I can pull this out in a year and have the same flavor that I'm going to have 2 to 5 years from now on my larger barrels.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very neat. These barrels have made 2 companies in Minnesota extremely successful. Black Swan, Park Rapids. They sell hundreds and hundreds of small barrels. And also along with the Barrel Mill out of Avon. 2 Minnesota companies. We're the first ones to legally buy them in the state, and they've been making them for years. Kind of funny how that works.
All Minnesota.
Exactly. It's a nice thing that we get to tie in that from start to finish. It's
Plus, everything's
product.
within an hour from here. Anyway,
exactly.
Too.
Yeah, actually, the 2 barrel companies deliver them here for free because we're close enough. So, exactly. Very nice. The 53s we do have to pull in. Independent Stave has companies all throughout the United States, and they send us our larger barrels because these barrel manufacturers will make a larger barrel. The reason we store it in 53s is just economics. It's cheaper to buy a larger barrel. You can age a larger supply in the same amount of space. It's just a way of going about it.
Must have off-site storage.
Yeah, all of our barrels are stored in cold storage. We have a farm about 7 miles from here. It's called a rick house. Inside that rick house is just a shelter is all basically it is. Cold to hot, expands and contracts the wood. Just like in the natural living trees, they expand and contract throughout the summer and the winter. We want that to happen, just when you want to get flush. And you don't want to. Yeah, actually, why don't you call that in on get it started for it'll squirt out a little bit. It'll be good.
Pretty good at this.
There you go. Got some practice.
Done that before?
There you go.
Is that good or?
I'll give her one final. actually gets quite busy. As you can see here, we got a bunch of empty stock. We bottled 1,000 bottles last week.
Oh, you're bottling them here.
Yeah. Our,
Is this the one you're selling?
yeah, these are actually a few of the rejects, but it'll show you. That'll be what's on shelves.
These will be on the shelf January 4th?
January 4th locally, statewide throughout January. If they aren't carrying it, just have them ask their local liquor store, and they should be able to get it relatively easy. Our distributor is out of St. Paul's, Panther Brothers Distribution, and they distribute statewide to just about it. Yeah, what you're looking at there, this would actually see. Yep, $19.99. $20 bottle.
$20 bottle.
$19.99.
What we actually market it as is it's something you can mix like vodka, but it tastes like whiskey.
Good with Coke or...
Exactly, Coke, or even if you go as far, you check our website out, PantherDistillery.com, and we got a whole recipe page with different. You just substitute it for some of your vodka mixes or a tequila mix. Use a white whiskey instead, and it gives it a little bit of a different flavor, and it's quite pleasing as a mixed alcohol. It's a sipping one too. You can pour it just like you pour a bourbon on the rocks and sip. It's the same base. Where moonshine and bourbon get this different characteristics all in the barrel. So you have your same base. This is exactly what an aged whiskey is, just not aged. It's just a virgin whiskey is what it is.
That's why I like that spiced apple.
Yeah. It's
good for sipping.
Exactly. It's just a sipping flavored whiskey.
Yep.
All the spike would be.
Are you guys coming out with an apple flavor?
Yep, we are. We can show you that label up front.
Okay.
Spiked apple. This kind of allows you to see everything from start to finish. Comes into the cooker, the stainless steel cooker, goes to a fermentation tank, 5 to 6 days wait in the fermentation tank, to the still collection tank, back to our barreling station. Just a continual flow throughout the shop. The one nice thing, we got 5 local employees that work here full time. This is the real deal. This is a fully functional whiskey distillery, and it's not very large.
Here to stay.
It's here to stay. We're hoping to take a big footprint in Minnesota and get everyone behind our locally made product. We stayed local for a reason. There's been a few additional costs to staying local, but I really think it'll pay off in the long run.
Everybody likes local.
Exactly. I mean, I'm just as guilty of it if I can go support somebody. The local breweries are about 10 years ahead of us. You go to a Twins game now, and you can buy everything. All these micro brews are at the Twins game. All the little vendors are set up. You have Cold Spring Brewery out in St. Cloud. They're doing great for themselves, and they're just popping up all over the map. If you look at a bigger picture and you look at the national picture, everyone's going back to keeping it local. You go to California and you almost can't order a shelf name whiskey there. It's all micro whiskeys that have been made in California, and the bars have made a pact that they're going to only sell California made. And I think Minnesota will get there. It'll be where you walk in and they say, well, instead of buying that one, why don't you try this local one? And that's what it's all about. You know, we spend our money local. Hopefully people spend their money local, and it's just a scheme, and hopefully we grow through it. Hopefully, 10 years from now, Minnesota can brag they got a large distillery right in the middle of the state and products all throughout the nation. That's our dream, is to hit Minnesota, get their support, and that'll allow us to keep expanding it as we can from there. What you see now with our equipment there, that's a 300 gallon a day system if everything's running and fully functional. Sounds like a lot, but when you start distributing to every little bar,
Goes quick.
It goes really fast. So, and the thing with an aged product is we have to do our market research for what's going to happen 2 years from now. 2 years from now, I need to have enough that's coming out of the barrel ready to go to support the demand at that time. The one nice thing is as long as I go over and have some extra, I'm good. It's when I run out of aged stuff, it takes me 2 years to build back up that stock. You know, so we try and as hard as we can, and I really think Minnesota being what Minnesota is, they'll support us and we'll be good to go. What you're looking at here is when we go back to the wood scenario. This is the exact same products that were put in a jar the same day. Only difference is this one has a little 2-inch piece of white oak in there. What that white oak does is it replicates what's happening in a barrel.
That happened just from that piece
Just from this little piece of oak. These have been in there for about 6 months, and it's changed it from absolutely clear to our stained bourbon. It's just a little bit of a way of showing what the wood actually does. Now you were talking about the checking proof on a bottle or on a glass. I have to pour it over this thing. Now I know what the proof is in here because I bottled it, but if you swirl alcohol like that in a glass and then you let it sit, and what you see here is a ring, and you see all the legs that are coming down, spider legs that come down. That's how you tell what your relative proof is inside of a alcohol. So you watch them, they spider leg down. Water would just go straight down. Alcohol spiders, the higher proof, the more legs you'll get. You might not be able to see it as well in the glass, but the reason there's so many legs inside of here is it's 130 proof alcohol.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Hey, be quiet back there. Sorry about that. They're my kids.
So thanks for coming. Thanks to Panther Distillery.
A little louder.
Thanks for coming and visiting us at Panther Distillery. We're a family-owned, Minnesota-based whiskey distillery. Thanks for coming. Come visit us anytime. Panther Distillery at gmail.com.
Drink some beer. Well, we jumped in our truck for a midnight ride, and we're heading to the bar to drink some beer. Drink some beer. Yes, we're heading to the bar to drink some beer. Drink some beers. Drink some beers. Well, I've been known not to walk the line. I find myself drinking on company time. Pour me some whiskey. Whiskey, whiskey. I want some whiskey.
You got to put something good in the barrel to get something great to come out.